Hello guys and welcome back to the channel. If you're new here then hello as well. Today it's The Way of Water. Yes, despite only seeing the first Avatar myself not that long ago, it has actually been many years since the original release of Avatar from 2009. But now, Avatar 2 is finally here. Also, something a little bit different which I haven't done before, a raw review over on my Patreon, which isn't the same review. That one is going to be a full, raw, uncut, spoiler review. I've just shot that, and it turns out that was like an hour and a half. That's there if you'd like to see it. Anyway, moving on. With high hopes and a coffee, I walked into that 3D IMAX screening earlier today, and oh my god, before I knew it, I was whisked away into the world of Pandora. And I don't mean that shop with jewelry. I mean Pandora, the Na'vi land, that place. Yeah. Personally, James Cameron and the team have absolutely nailed it. I was in awe with the film's visual beauty, and I must say that seeing it in 3D IMAX was by far the best decision that I made, and that I recommend it's the best thing that you could do. The 3D was just insane. It's, you know, the elements really worked well on the screen and were shown to you in a phenomenal way, especially like anything to do with the water. However, that being said, there are a few slight minor nitpicks, which I'll get into later. But for now, the visual effects artists are wizards. We saw the Sea Na'vis, the Metkina clan, and there were huge sections of the film where I completely forgot it was CGI. It's a huge step up from the 2009 Avatar 1, with of course that using technology that was around in 2009, and this obviously incorporating more modern technology. Now I have noticed that some people said the trailer doesn't really look like that much of a step up since the original film, but honestly, if you see it on a big screen, you really notice it's a huge step up. Now obviously I never saw Avatar 1 in the cinema, but good friends of mine had seen Avatar 1 in the cinema, and they said to me that Avatar 2 absolutely blew them away, and it was a 1.5 mile difference. It was a huge difference between both. This one definitely warrants seeing it on the big screen. So the most jaw-dropping visuals for me are the wide landscape shots, the beautifully lit, vibrant night scenes, an underwater sweeping shot of sea life, or scenes in which characters interact with some form of water. Even some of the more rainy, dark forest scenes are honestly visually impressive. And I didn't think I would say that with a rainy, dark forest scene, but no, honestly, they're visually impressive. They just, it feels like you're really there in the scene. I think because it's in 3D, you see almost that the rain is in 3D, the surround sound like effect coming around you just kind of immerses you into that world, and it's just stunning. Even though I saw this in 3D IMAX, our original plan, my friend and I's original plan, was to go and see this in 4DX. I do wonder what it was like in 4DX. Did you have like the wind whipping around you and the water like being spritzed at your face and this kind of thing? If you guys have seen it in 4DX, comment below and let me know how it went, what the experience was like. I'd love to know. The only two things I've seen in 4D have been Honey, I Shrunk the Audience and the London Eye 4D experience. So it'd be really interesting to get another person's opinion. I know it can come across a bit gimmicky, but I feel like it's a great aid to the film, and it really helps to immerse you in that world if you have it with a film like Avatar, or Avatar 2 in this case. Usually I feel like it's more of a gimmick with 3D a lot of the time. But when you've got films that almost seem like Spy Kids 3D, and I liked the Spy Kids franchise, but that one was god-awful. The 3D, what on earth was going on with that? With the floating heads and the odd CG work that was going on. There is one tiny nitpick on this film that kind of is going with that whole Spy Kids 3D look, and you'll hear that in a little bit. I want to say that the soundtrack to this film was absolutely stunning, albeit not quite as memorable as the first. The soundtrack really drives and hones that emotion in the scenes. Whether that be something that's touching or intense, it just merges together. But again, with it not being as memorable, it's hard to define a specific piece of music from one another. Also, since the first film, family has now become an integral part of Jake and Neytiri's relationship.
There's always room for family.
Now because they've got children of their own. And I do believe that the family could probably have been a bit of a bigger focus in this film. And I'm not saying it wasn't a huge focus, because it was a fairly big element of the film. I'm going to get into more of these details later. But I feel like if things were removed from the film, specific things removed from the film, it would give them more time to build a relationship between the characters that we see, between Neytiri and Jake and the kids. and just to focus between Jake and the children and just their bonding a little bit more. So at certain points in the film, we see Jake as this ex-Marine, and he really focuses on things being pristine a certain way, and they've got to be quite strict. I didn't really notice all that much in number one. He was a Marine, so he's got all these memories of being a Marine and having to do things a certain way, and that's probably something he's feeling. But at the same time, he spent time with the Omaticaya, so I feel like that would have completely wiped him thinking that, because he spent so much time with them, so much time learning their clan, their family.
You don't turn your back on family.
The way they work and the feelings and the language that they have, and it's like a whole new kind of family.
I got family.
And it just feels kind of odd when he's being quite strict with the children and almost very military. But I do understand he's trying to, define the lines between being a strict dad, being a caring dad, and he's got this background there of having been a Marine, and he's trying to learn the ways of the Omaticaya still, because he's not a natural Na'vi. He is a human being in an avatar body, or at least he was in number one. Now he's an official Na'vi. But yeah, this is a learning curve for Jake, I understand that, and it probably will feel a bit out of character because we're almost not used to seeing him as a father. But at this point in his life, he has been a father now for many years, so presuming that's where it's become like it has, because over the years he's had to be a little bit stricter because they are boisterous boys and it's the way they are. I mean, Kiri, bless her, absolutely lovely, and she's not really got any boisterous things there, it's just the way she is. But then the boys are just being brothers. They're very cheeky and they like to taunt each other quite a bit, but then they also stand up for their sister as well, which I very much applaud. Now, before I delve any further into this film, I just want to say one thing that I really don't agree with Cameron on this film, or on his plan for his existing films. He shoots high frame rate for some of the scenes, and it bugs me. It looks odd on the screen. Not specifically because I don't like high frame rate. I think it looks weird in film. It just looks like you're watching a video. It looks like you're watching it, and in this film specifically, it looks like you're watching a nature documentary. But to do it for only some scenes and not the entire thing, just kind of feel like it defeats the object. He says that he does it for action scenes and underwater scenes. It just feels quite jarring. Anyway, that aside, yeah, it does kind of feel like home video at some points, and the opening Century Studios blah 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 logo came on and I went, oh, it's the high frame rate.
Disappointed!
And yeah, there was this weird jittery effect as well at some points, which I have found out after watching the film that apparently it's due to them being filmed in a different frame rate. Frames have been duplicated, and it just feels like half a job. Half an effort has gone into it. If he's really going to want to implement it, why doesn't he, and I don't mean this as the main release of the film, why doesn't he shoot it in the high frame rate and then convert it down to standard film frame rate, have that as the main release, and then release the high frame rate version?
Release the hounds.
And have that as like a standalone edition, that if you want to watch this one, you can watch this one and put it onto home media and that kind of thing. On the subject of the high frame rate anyway, apparently when you go into the cinema screening, you can opt for the specific frame rate you like to see, so the higher frame rate or the standard. I never got this option. I just went into it thinking it was 3D IMAX, which was absolutely stunning. The most hilarious thing about this frame rate issue is it really only bugs me and applies to this section of the film that I'm just not keen on, which I will get into in a bit. After that part of the film, it runs pretty much okay. There are some shots where you go, oh, that frame rate is a bit iffy, but it's kind of more seamless because they are brighter, more open and vivid shots, and not so dark and sort of dingy, if that makes sense. So the area of the film that I think should have been made into a montage instead of a whole entire section of the film, or just cut it completely. Do you need it? It's the first section of the film where they are in the forest before they get to the Sea Clan. Personally, I know it builds the family. It builds a bit of the relationships between everybody, but I don't feel like that section is fully needed. You can have it in a montage that shows kind of what's there, but just only shows the bits you really need to see, builds the story of the characters, and brings other people around to knowing who these people are if they've never seen Avatar 1 before. But then, another huge change I would make to the film, get rid of the humans.
humans are returning.
Absolutely get rid of them. I could not stand that they brought them back. I didn't understand why. The only people other than the scientists I think that they should have kept in the film are the hunters, and that's all I'm going to say because I don't want to spoil too much. The only reason I think they should keep the hunters is because I feel like that storyline works. You didn't really need to bring him back, but Quaritch, him, because he's back. As you've seen in the trailer, if you realised it was him, he's now an avatar. He's back. And so is Sigourney Weaver. I understand they want to keep Sigourney Weaver because, you know, she works with James Cameron really well and it's a way to bring her back as Kiri, who's Jake's daughter. But that's where I find it a little bit odd. But that being said, Kiri is an amazing character. Sigourney Weaver plays her very, very well. She had a lot of depth to her, so I will give them that. But yeah, the initial idea of the film, I think they should have almost done a montage. Here's the introductions to the characters. Here's, you know, something if they want to give anything away about certain characters that are going to be in the film, blah, blah, blah. And then cuts to black and here's the new world, the other clan called the Metcaina clan. Now, my other problem with the humans or the sky people coming back is that it almost feels like they forgot what happened in number 1 in the first Avatar film, and at the end they sent them back to Earth, and then similar things to in the first film happen in this one as well, like a retread of the same story in some ways. Don't get me wrong, there are plenty of other little adventures that go on within the film, and it is an incredible film, and it's genuinely a film that I think you should go and see. I feel like it's a film about family and just enjoying life. A little thing that I'm not going to spoil it, I'm not going to say it, but the bit at the end just felt to me like it was, they just did it just to build for the next film. Just don't. I just don't feel like it's needed. That's all I can say. So, one of the areas of CGI that I thought wasn't too great was when it comes to adding humans into CG shots. And I've already aired my thoughts, which you won't know until the video comes out, but in the Avatar 1 reaction, I mentioned about a couple of shots where there's humans in it, and I mentioned that they either didn't quite fit or they've just said, okay, go back to the ship because they don't want to use the the humans in CG shots just to save a bit of time and money. But in this case, I feel like they probably should have stayed away from it. I don't feel like it works, and this is where I said about the whole Spy Kids 3D. I feel like it's gone into that area. Yeah, it's a bit weird. It's not hugely noticeable, but I think it just looks a little off. Let me know what you think, guys. It's the scene with Edie Falco's General Ardmore. While she's walking through the hallway, it just looks a little off. From what I can see, the suit is CG. I might be wrong. Maybe she's in a robot thing, like a robot outfit thing, but I think I'm pretty sure it's a CG thing, and maybe it's the movements weren't timed well enough or something. But again, you know, the creators of the film were only human, and these little things can happen. Also, is it just me? And I don't want to spoil too much, but for those that have seen it, is it just me? Or did James Cameron go a bit Titanic on this one? In a certain area of the film. That's all I'm going to say. If you've seen it, you'll know what I mean. Also, what I thought was absolutely hilarious is that before going into this, I had no idea about number 3. The only thing that I didn't know was something that I actually guessed. At the end of this film, my mate and I were coming out of the cinema, and I said to him, oh, I wonder what they're going to do for the next one. I feel like there's, they can't really go anywhere with it. They've kind of delved into as much as they could possibly go. Do you think maybe because they've done the sea now, they've done the sort of the earth in the previous one, or the forest in the previous one, maybe the next one's going to be fire, like the fire Na'vi, the fire clan, that or something. I had no idea, but apparently it has been confirmed by James Cameron that Avatar 3 is going to have fire Na'vi, and I went, huh? I haven't seen anything about it, I haven't read it anywhere. I quite liked that I got it. That was something I just joked about, and I didn't think was going to be a thing at all. Anyway, all that being said, I got very emotional at quite a few times. I think at least 3 times in the film. The visuals were just absolutely gorgeous. When I say gorgeous, they are cinematic beauties. The one shot that absolutely blew me away was the shot of the New Clan's sort of spiritual place. Thing with like circular rocks type things. it just looks stunning. Also, with me bawling my eyes out and getting very emotional, I had the 3D glasses on, so I was having to sort of do this underneath because they were so tight against my head, really rubbing into my ears here, and I was like this, underneath them, going at certain scenes. Anyway, if you want a gorgeous plethora of visuals, stunning emotional moments, then go and check out Titanic or Avatar. No, this film. Yes, this is a must-see film. It is a must-see on the big screen, at least. The best by far is seeing this in 3D or see it in 4DX. And let me know what you think to it. Anyway guys, that has been my review of Avatar 2, The Way of Water. Let me know your thoughts of this film and whether or not you're going to be seeing it, and if so, are you going to be watching it in standard, the standard version, or in 4DX, or in IMAX 3D? Personally, go for either of the latter. Anyway guys, thank you so much for watching. I hope you're doing very well today, having a wonderful, wonderful day. Let me know if you guys see this film and what your thoughts are to it. And I've really loved that you've been here. If you want to see my alternate review, and it's an hour and a half. So if you'd like to sit down with a cup of coffee or tea and listen to me talking about Avatar 2 and my thoughts, have a little gander. I don't think I've said that before on here. Anyway guys, take care, stay safe, have an amazing day, and I will see you next time. Bye bye.